Hey, I'm back with more DPS character concepts. Now, with Deadpool, I went the safe route, the expected route, what I expect, what you expect, probably what we all expect, pretty baseline Deadpool stuff. Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Nova and Stingray, which if you don't know who those two are, well, then you don't even know mid-ball knowledge, because I would say Nova's not even obscure. Stingray is very obscure. I don't know anything about Stingray, really. I know a little bit, but yeah, I'm going to get into the video now and stop wasting time. I'm going to talk about Nova first. Now, he has 250 HP, and his passive for me is the Nova Helmet. He'll be in a constant state of flight, and he will have a similar mechanic to Angela. Instead of when he does continuous flight, gains more and more attack damage on his next primary, instead, Nova gains more speed with continuous flight, so he might start slower than the rest of the flyers, but when he starts flying, he'll do, kind of like how Iron Man does his accelerated flight, like that motion. He'll do that over time to the point where he's maybe even faster than Iron Man's accelerated movement. So it's like Spider-Man levels of speed for a flyer. You know what I mean? Like, not obviously not Spider-Man levels of speed or acceleration, but prolonged time doing it. He will be the fastest flyer that we currently have in the game. I think that'd be a nice way to get across his speed without making it too overpowered, and they can always tweak it, so I think it's a fair way to do it. Next is Nova's primary fire. I didn't know what to call it, so I just call it Nova Beams. Basically, he'll just shoot out beams from his hands. They won't be at like infinite range like Ultron, but it'll be like a mid-range area. I guess think Bucky's effective range, a little bit further than that. General idea is he's not super long range like Widow or even Ultron, but he's decent range since he'll be up in the air all the time. I did not give Nova a secondary fire, however, I did give him an ability 1, 2, and ultimate. So, for his ability 1, I'm calling it Energy Redirection. Basically, Nova can hit either his primary fire or his secondary fire when he absorbs energy. So like when you hit this button, you'll absorb incoming damage for a couple seconds, and then you'll press one of these abilities. If you press your primary fire, he'll shoot out an energy ball, since he can do that in the comics. Now, he can heal in the comics, but I didn't want to make him a strategist, so you know what I did? I made the DPS roster a little bit more utility-based. So, made it to where when Nova hits secondary fire, he'll burst out the energy to him and his allies in a radius into a small bit of healing, just like a small bit of burst heal, just so that way you don't need to run triple support. You could run 2 supports and a Nova, maybe a support, Storm, Nova, and then a kind of like a Gambit who can DPS a little bit more, but is there in case like your Luna or whatever can't keep up the heals. I think this is a good way to like let him heal but keep him a DPS, since I didn't want to make him a duelist because I have better duelists, honestly. Not duelists, strategists, honestly. So yeah. Let's go on to his ability 2, which is going to be called Nova Clusters. Basically, Nova will just generate a bunch of small balls of energy around him and then just shoot them in a desired area. It'll be kind of like when Captain America jumps up, looks down to do his slam. It's like that kind of circle visual. Or I guess Bucky's ultimate also would be good idea of how it would look. You just do that and then boom. Now, I thought of a funny voice line that would then translate into me making what his ultimate is, which I had a funny idea of when Nova kills Human Torch when he's using his ultimate. He would just be like, Supernova, you're not even a regular one. So, I said I'd be funny. I made Nova's ultimate Super Space Nova. So Supernova, not Supernova, Kind of a fun word where it's like he's just going super or some shit, right? So basically he'll do a wider area energy intake, so takes in damage in a wider area. Then he'll pour it all into himself, basically be faster, do more damage, and just basically all around it's just a enhancement ultimate, since we don't really have that for the DPS. Most DPS ultimates are kind of like AoE, so I did it for Deadpool with single target, so I said I'll do it for Nova with kind of a more self-stimulant ultimate, if that makes sense. Maybe even heals him over time. I don't know. I forgot to say that his cooldowns would also come back faster, but this would only last for like 6 seconds, and it's like a 3-second intake of energy. So it's a decent wind-up for a short burst, but he's a lot faster and a lot stronger with more, burst damage with his cooldowns going back. So I thought this was a decent trade-off. And yeah, that is my Nova. Tell me what you think in the comments. And now let's move on to Stingray. Now, if you told me you've never heard of Stingray, I wouldn't be surprised because I've never heard of Stingray before. But I was doing some research on more obscure, not so fan favorite characters. like, there's the X-Men who are lesser known. Gambit was in that section of known, same with Magic, where it's like, not the most known, but he's pretty well known. And then you get the next level of like Jubilee, then like, so on and so forth. So I decided I was going to do the same type of thing, except not with X-Men, because Stingray is not an X-Men. But I'll tell you what he's about. Stingray basically is a marine, I think he was an oceanographer or something, and he made a suit that would let him go into depths of 120 feet below sea level and be able to survive. And so he kind of became a superhero in that way, similar to Vayne of Aquaman. And yeah, that's about all you need to know for his abilities, so let's get into them. I made him have 275 HP since he is going to be more of a kind of semi mid-range to close range guy with a lot of maneuverability, but that can backfire since now we have like characters like Angela and others who could just burst you back, get you while you're flying. So I figured give him a tiny bit more HP wouldn't hurt. I decided to give him a unique mechanic without it being a passive in the form of his primary fire, Water Jet. Basically, he'll shoot out water and build soak charges on enemies. Now, each enemy can build 3 soak charges, and the soak charges are it's like a low damage primary, but because it combos with his secondary fire, Volt Sting, where basically he'll shoot a volt of electricity to an enemy, and it's like decent damage normally, but it gets increased damage per soak charge. And if two or more enemies are close together and they both have a soak charge, then it will jump from one enemy to another, kind of being like a chain lightning. I thought this was a decent way to do a chain lightning without it just being a chain lightning, because I think we need more of that, of two things literally comboing off of each other constantly in this game, and it would kind of make it more unique than just a chain lightning effect, making the primary secondary fire combo. I took inspiration from Moji in Paladins, where she will build charges with a spray and then she'll do a little click thing to burst it, or like Saris, who does the same thing. She shoots a bunch of projectiles and bursts them. I think this is a cool idea. And those two were supports, so that tells you anything. I think it's a good idea. Then I gave Stingray 2 abilities. His first ability is a glide. Basically, he can just glide. However, it's not like a Moon Knight glide. It's not like a glide in most games. If you've ever played Just Cause 3 or Just Cause, it's kind of like that. It's like the wingsuits in Just Cause or Far Cry. Kind of like, I don't know how they would do it, but if they could do it, that'd be so sick. If it changes your POV to where it's behind him instead of off to the right. And so then you go near, 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 which combos again with his second ability, which is Aqua Jet Stream. Basically, he will click his boots together and just shoot up into the air with a burst of water, or like a stream of water. It would knock back nearby enemies, So this way it's easier for him to start gliding since he can't wall climb or nothing. Now, he did have a sonar, however, I feel like Daredevil feels sonar enough to the point where we don't need any other type of sonar, because Daredevil kind of just all encompasses that much better than Stingray would. So yeah, that's why if you know Stingray, he does have a sonar thing, but I'm not using it. Finally, Stingray's ultimate is called Preferred Domain. Basically, this is where I take the most liberties. He'll basically create an area around him, and then he'll fill it with, he'll make a water area, basically. Enemies will move slower, and projectiles from enemies will move slower in his water bubble. Allies will move normally, but he will move freely throughout it, and he will be faster and stronger. The way he is stronger is when he uses Volt Sting, everybody inside the ultimate will receive max soak charge damage. So if you had 3 soak charges outside of the water bubble, when you enter it, you'd still have 3, but if you have none, you'd have 3. Then when he Volt Stings, it'll do maximum damage to everybody all at once. I think this is another decent, different kind of ultimate, since we don't really have, once again on the DPS roster, we don't really have an AoE that just sits there and is a danger zone. We kind of have that with Daredevil, but it's moving. I think this is a decent way to where it's Stingray normally isn't an issue, but once he gets that ultimate, oh boy, you're in for trouble. He could stream up, glide onto you, ultimate, just annihilate you. Volt Sting, Volt Sting, Volt Sting. It'd be on a 2 to 3 second cooldown, but still, actually maybe 1 to 3 seconds, let's be honest. So it's I don't know. I took liberties with Stingray since there's not a lot about him, and I did what I could with him that I could find. So tell me what you think in the comments for these 2 duelists, and I will have 3 strategists for you in the next one. See you guys later. Bye-bye.